All right, so now I'm thinking about scene management. So what we'll need is we're going to need a scene manager. So this can go in our core. And I think we can put this, actually this can be a new file called scene manager. So one thing, we should describe a scene. So let's see, we will export an interface scene. And a scene will have overlay, which will be a optional boolean. And I'll explain what that does when we start writing that scene manager. A scene will actually have access to the scene manager, which we haven't created. So we could say export class scene manager, just so that is good. We gotta spell it right. We'll need them to have an onEnter method, an onExit, and an update and a render. So that should be enough to describe a scene. So one thing we'll want inside of a scene manager, we'll want a private stat, and it'll be an array of scenes. We'll have a renderer that we set, and that will be of type renderer. Then we'll have our constructor, which will take the renderer and set it. We'll take the start, which will be initial scene, which will be a scene. Then we'll have a push, which will take a scene. We'll have a pop. And then we have our update and our render. So we've got to think about this. We start a scene. Starting a scene is essentially just going to push the scene in. So if we push a scene, first we want to make sure that we check if we already have a stack. Actually, no. We're going to check first if scene.overlay and if this.stack.length is greater than 0. Then we just run this dot pop, meaning we're going to replace the last scene in the stack with this one in a way. That's kind of all that means. So then we just say this dot stack dot push scene, and we run the on enter. Well, we also want to set this dot stack, scene dot scene manager is equal to this, and we run the on enter method for that scene. To pop a scene, we get the scene, check if we actually did get a scene from that, and then we run its on exit. Update is pretty self-explanatory. We're just going to check if it's equal to 0, we're not going to do anything. We're going to get a current scene is equal to the last scene, and then we're going to update that. So we'll first check and make sure that we actually got one. Current scene. So if we got a current scene, then we update it. Rendering is going to be a bit different. We're going to check we're going to check and make sure we have it, and then we're going to just loop through and render. So we'll render every scene that's on the stack, but we'll only update the most recent one. This is actually all I think it takes to manage our scenes. So now we can kind of modify the way that our main is set up. So if we go to the main here, we've obviously gotten rid of that with the so we can take everything besides these ones, I believe. And then we're going to create in the game folder, create a new folder called scenes, game scene. We'll import all those. We need to change the paths now. And we're going to want to import type scene and scene manager. And we're going to load those up. And this is actually in, right? So we can export class game scene implements scene. We're going to have a world for this one. Not all scenes will require a world. And we'll have, we can set overlay, public overlay false, scene manager And we'll have private render systems. And it will be of type system. And there'll be arrays. Makes sense? And then the constructor so if we go back to the scene manager here, let's actually remove on push where we set the scene manager. We'll push this in to the constructor here. So let's get rid of that. This can be private. Doesn't matter. Scene manager. Scene manager is equal to scene manager. Then we'll have the on enter. And this is where we can take all of our stuff from that main. And we'll create these renders. All right. So in the main, one thing I think we want to do is alter a little bit of one of our methods here. The render system does a lot of stuff that I think we can kind of revert back out of it. So I think that we want to pull this out. We'll put that in the main. And then we will place those. So now we will have a renderer that we can pass into the scene. And this is just I think it is in 4. Yeah, there we go. And then, so now we have the renderer. And we're not going to create a world here. We're not going to spawn. Same thing with the frame rate stuff here. We can pull that into our game scene in the on enter. And let's change this dot world here. And we probably want to pass in the renderer. Let me see. So one thing that we can do in the scene manager, this .renderer is public. So in our scene, we need to affect the render system still. This is only going to take renderer. Okay. That's right there. And let's see. So we have our frame rate thing here. Export function, system, update. Now where is the color? Color is right here. So why? Let's see what this problem is. Oh, we just forgot the comma there. So this will take a renderer now. This way we create our renderer higher up. And then why does it not know? Slash renderer. Is it core slash? Is it just slash renderer? Yeah. So yeah, essentially the changes we made is that it's going to take the renderer in. That should be fine. So now this just takes this dot seat manager dot renderer, and we can say this dot. It takes a canvas. Let's make it take this dot scene manager dot renderer dot width and height. We'll go into our wall bounce. We'll change this as well. Width, number, height, and then we just replace this with that passed in width and height. All right. That updates that pretty well, I think. So in the, so this right here now becomes this dot render systems. And same thing for this dot update systems. Now, right, we need to do, we'll just run those. And then this now is the stat world and the stat. Do we not have spawn prefabs? We need to pull that out. So we're still going to make the prefabs, or we're going to load them in there, but we spawn them in here. And then we can take and move this back out because the engine's still going to be there. So now we make the renderer. We can import scene manager. We can import scene. And then after we load the prefabs, we set all that inside of here, right above this stuff. We'll put press in that scene manager dot start with the new game scene. Scene manager. The game scene incorrectly implements interface scenes. This, what is it? This is supposed to be public. World has an initializer and is not definitely assigned in the constructor. Yes, we could. Put it up here. We can set those as well. But when we enter, I want to set it to a new world as well. And then this dot and this dot. That should be good. And in main here, Now we're going to just say scene manager.render, and we'll update. Let's double check this. All right. So now we have a game scene. It looks like everything is behaving the same way. Now the key is that we can create a pause scene, and we'll take this here just so that we have the right imports. We don't need any of this stuff though. We do need the scene. We're not going to have a world. Pause scene won't have a world. We'll have a scene manager, which manager. We won't have any systems to run. And on enter is going to I don't know if we're even going to probably not going to do anything specifically on enter or on exit. We will have a few different things though. Let's come up here. We're going to have a let's see, type menu item, and that's going to have a label and an action. We're also going to have a selected index, which will be equal to 0. And menu items, which will be an array of menu items. One will be resume game, and that's pretty self-explanatory. If you select the resume game, then we're going to pop this scene off the list. And then we'll have, now we don't have a main menu, but we can eventually have a title screen. In the constructor, we're going to do the same thing. The only thing is we're going to import our input. And this is actually in for section input. Right for input. Why are you not correct? Pause scene. Let's see. Okay. that slash for slash input slash it's I don't want to change that right yet. And what we'll do is on the update, we'll check if arrow up is, and it's also was pressed. And then we're just going to cycle through the selected index. If it was down, we're going to do the same thing. And this basically just makes it cycle, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0. There's no use for delta time here. But we do want to remember at the end, oh yeah, if enter, then we're going to go to the selected index within our menu items and we'll run the action. Let's first make sure that we get a menu item. Then we can double check menu item and there. So now that makes sure we have the menu item. And then in render, we're going to want to use, so it's like const renderer is equal to this dot scene manager dot renderer. And then we'll say render dot text. And first thing is actually a rectangle. 0, 0, renderer.width, renderer.height, and it'll be 0.5. So it's going to be a black, transparent or translucent background. And then we'll say menu X, menu Y. So this is going to put them in the middle of the screen. This dot menu item dot for each item index. So now we're actually going to render these. So const color is equal to index is equal to this dot selected index. So we're just going to run a ternary here and we'll say selected is yellow, not selected is white. Renderer.text item.label is what we're going to print out. Menu X, menu Y plus index, and we'll times it by 30. And in our extra options, we can set the color, size, font, Arial, line center, baseline middle. All right, so we've got this scene here for pause menu, but We should also add one more. If escape was pressed, then we're going to pop as well. Did we have? Yeah, so that means if at any point we hit escape, then it pops us out of that menu. But the only thing is, there's no way to get to this. So the easiest thing we could do is actually come into our game scene, import pause scene, and right in here on update, we'll say if input, we have to import that was pressed escape, then we push the pause scene on there. Now I'm not sure if that is an issue. Just okay. All right. One thing that I did want to update, our keyboard controller here at the end, it runs this input tick thing. Why? Okay. And we don't want that to happen. We want that to happen on our update after everything. So this is where we say input.end tick. And we'll do the same thing here in our update. So the scenes themselves will manage uh, kind of refreshing or resetting the input. So we can select resume game. Also, I can't see the it's not rendering what's underneath it. Why are we not rendering what's underneath? It should be. Did we set? Yeah, that should be fine. In our scene manager, we're still rendering each of them. Let's see. Why are we not going back? Let's take a look at our scene manager. Um, Let me take a look in the browser. Do we have anything in here? We have no response. Let's see. So are we input.ntick? Enter is not showing anything. Escape either. Let's see. Log. Okay. So we are doing this. Game scene update. Let's make sure we aren't. Do we want to? That is interesting. Let me figure out what's going on. All right, I'm pretty sure that this is the issue here. We need the overlay to be true. Then you can see that we still have that background scene. Resume game works, exit works. That's the problem. We were completely popping the game scene off the stack. But now we have a menu. And it's working. If we pop everything off the scene, you'll see that nothing happens. We we end up popping everything off. So, yeah, there we go. We've got scene management now. Sweet. Alrighty. Let's see what's next. I'll try to figure out where we're going to go from here.